Angels with Dirty Faces was a 1938 James Cagney gangster film. It also starred Humphrey Bogart and Pat O'Brien, and it's probably one of the best of the gangster films I've seen. And what I like about these early 1930s films is they don't get too carried away with, violence or profanity or anything like that, but it's really about character building. And James Cagney is just amazing in this film. He plays this. We see him early in his life, him and Pat O'Brien, but as depicted by other characters, as these kind of teenage hoodlums growing up in this crowded city. They're in crime, they're getting into mischief, and we see that from an early age, James Cagney and Pat O'Brien are both kind of living a rough life. But as the film progresses, we see James Cagney spends all this time in juvenile detention and prison, but Pat O'Brien's character turns his life around and becomes a priest. So after kind of a quick series of transitions, kind of some stylish transitions too, which is really neat, for the 1930s. They look great. We kind of get to the present time, and here's James Cagney. He's just getting out of prison. I think he was in for like 15 years. He gets out, and Pat O'Brien at this time has become a priest. He's working with kind of troubled youths and helping them out. Youths, whatever, anyhow. And Humphrey Bogart is in the picture as well. He doesn't appear too terribly much in this film. Basically, for some reason, Bogey, he's a lawyer and he owes money to James Cagney. James Cagney wants it back, and that's kind of the main driving plot, is kind of James Cagney's return to crime, and Bogart, who is the bad guy, he's not really wanting to have this partnership with James Cagney. So the subplot is that James Cagney, he's in touch with his friend Pat O'Brien, this priest, who is working with kind of these troubled boys. And you can kind of see this connection with James Cagney. He can empathize with them because, he himself grew up as one of these troubled kids. And there's a great scene in this film. Probably the core of the film, I would say, it's the basketball scene. Because James Cagney, he's helping these like hoodlum boys play basketball. They're cheating and they're tripping other players and they're just basically being a bunch of punks. Well, James Cagney's not having any of that, so he's like slapping these kids and tripping them back and doing all sorts of things to get them to play an honest game. And you probably could never get away with that type of thing today, but it was just kind of a neat scene to watch. And even though it's a subplot with these kids, the involvement with these kids does become an important subplot later in the film as things start to get just a little bit rough for James Cagney's character. I don't want to give too much away because this is really a great film and it's worth checking out. The music is really good for this film, and I really appreciated how they did the set design at the beginning of the film. It's a crowded city street. It does look like a Hollywood studio, but it looks like a very well decorated one. It's busy, bustling. There's clothing and fabric hanging on lines, and we see James Cagney as depicted as this young kid, and him and his hoodlum friends, it feels like they are just living in this bustling metropolis. It's so busy and dirty, and it's just really great. And it really helps you understand the character better. It really digs deep into why James Cagney's character is the way he is and why he goes into this direction. And of course, as you can imagine, because it's a crime film and it's gangster stuff, it's not going to end too well, but hey, I'll let you check the film out for yourself and you can see how things wrap up. So that's Angels with Dirty Faces. I think it was vaguely referenced in the Home Alone film, but it was something like Angels with Dirty Souls. But it's nothing like that at all. In fact, this is totally worth checking out. It's a great gangster movie, so go check this one out.